Good afternoon and welcome to our next session, that is the Bohr's theory of ionic lattice. See here, this Bohr's theory, it is related to the stability of the ionic lattice. It explains the stability of an ionic lattice. So it is concerned with the stability of an ionic lattice. See, normally we have seen two oppositely charged ions, Na plus and Cl minus will be there, and they are held together by an electrostatic force of attraction. And also here, while considering these two atoms, see here there will be two types of interactions are there between these two ions. The first one, that is the attraction between the oppositely charged ions, isn't it? That means the attraction between Na plus and also Cl minus. So the first one, that is the Coulombic attraction between the oppositely charged ions. Coulombic attraction between the oppositely charged ions. And the second one, see what is the second interaction, that is the, see, in the case of sodium as well as chlorine, there are valence shells are there, and in these valence shells they are having electrons, isn't it? See, if this is the case of sodium and this is the case of Cl minus, in the Cl minus also in their valence shell there will be electrons, and see there will be an attractive force between Na plus and Cl minus. At the same time, see, electrons are there in the valence shell, and see, in the case of Na plus and also in the case of Cl minus there will be electrons. So what happens is that there will be a repulsion between the electrons of the two atoms, isn't it? The electrons in Na plus, it will be repelling the electrons in the case of Cl minus. So there will be a repulsive interaction is also there, isn't it? So the second interaction, that is the repulsion between the electron clouds. Repulsion between the electron clouds of both ions, isn't it? So these are the two interactions going on in the case of an ionic compound. So then we have to go through in detail these attractive forces as well as the repulsive forces. First one, we can see the attractive interaction. Attractive interaction. Attractive interaction. See here, what happens is that attraction means for example, if we are taking Na plus and Cl minus, they are oppositely charged ions, and these oppositely charged ions will be attracting each other, isn't it? And also their potential energy, it will be varying, or it will be depending upon the internuclear distance. Internuclear distance means the distance between the nucleus of the first atom and the nucleus of the second atom. That gives the internuclear distance R, isn't it? Suppose this is the atom, this is Na plus and Cl minus, so this will be the internuclear distance R, isn't it? So this potential energy, it will be varies with the internuclear distance. That means this potential energy, it is inversely proportional to their internuclear distance. That is PE is inversely proportional to R. Potential energy is directly proportional to 1 by R. So it is inversely related. That is, if R decreases, what happens? Potential energy increases. That means R decreases means the molecules, the atoms will be at their closest point of approach, isn't it? So if we are considering these two ions, they are point charges, that is just 2 points. If we are considering these atoms, then by applying the electrostatic energy, or by applying the electrostatic force of attraction, we can write the formula as potential energy due to attractive force, isn't it? Potential energy due to attractive force. We can write the formula as minus Z1 into Z2 into E square divided by R. Okay, minus Z1 into Z2 into E square divided by R. See here, E, what is E? E is the electronic charge. E is the electronic charge. And what about R? R is the internuclear distance. That means this distance. Okay, R is the internuclear distance. R is the internuclear distance. And again, see here, two more terms are there, that is Z1 and Z2. What are Z1 and Z2? They are the charges of the oppositely charged ions. They are the charges of the oppositely charged ions. That is Z1 for a cation and Z2 for a negative ion, or reverse. Okay. And also see here in the case of Z1 and Z2, in the case of NaCl, in the case of NaCl, Z1 is equal to Z2, that is equal to 1. That means one electron it is shared between, one electron is donated, isn't it? Donated or accepted. And in the case of calcium chloride, what happens? This Z1 is equal to 2. That means the valency of calcium it is 2, isn't it? Then for Z2 means it is the valency of chlorine or the charge of chlorine, and the charge of chlorine it is negative 1. We have to neglect the negative sign, so it is 1. Okay. So likewise we can write the charges of oppositely charged ions Z1 and Z2. And also, so this is the formula for calculating the energy due to attractive force, that is minus Z1 into Z2 into E square divided by R. E is the electronic charge, R is the internuclear distance, Z1 and Z2 are the charges of the oppositely charged ions. See, then the second one, that is the repulsive interaction. Repulsive interaction. Repulsive interaction. See here in the case of, repulsive interaction means if there is an attractive force, there will be a repulsive force. Otherwise, what happens? They will be colliding into each other, or they will be, one of them will be falling into the nucleus of the other atom, isn't it? So actually what happens is that the force of attraction, it will be equally balanced by the force of repulsion itself, isn't it? Otherwise the atom won't exist. The two interactive forces should be balanced or should be in equilibrium with each other. Otherwise the nucleus will get collapsed. Nucleus of both the atoms will get collapsed. So for countering this attractive force, there will be a repulsive interaction, and here the repulsive interaction, it is between the electrons in the valence shell of both the atoms, isn't it? So here the repulsive interaction, the energy due to repulsion, that we can write it as potential energy due to repulsion, that is equal to, the formula is B E square divided by R raised to N. That is the formula. Potential energy due to repulsion is equal to B E square divided by R E raised to N. Where see here in this term B, it is called as the repulsion coefficient. B is called as the repulsion coefficient. Then what is E? E is the charge, electronic charge. E is the electronic charge. Electronic charge. R, what is R? R is the internuclear distance. I hope you are writing the notes also, lecture notes also. Then N, what is N? It is the Bond's exponent. N is the Bond's exponent. So these are the terms in this repulsive force, that is B E square divided by R raised to N. See, while you are writing the formula, you have to explain all the terms in that formula. Okay, so B is the repulsion coefficient, E is the electronic charge, R is the internuclear distance, and N is the Bond's exponent. See here in this formula, we can see that the potential energy due to repulsion, it is inversely proportional to what? It is inversely proportional to the nth power of the internuclear distance, isn't it? Potential energy due to repulsion, it is inversely proportional to the nth power of the internuclear distance. See here, this nth power of the internuclear distance means it will be a very big quantity, isn't it? It is a very huge value, isn't it? So as the internuclear distance increases while taking its nth power means it is a very big quantity. So the as the internuclear distance increases, this value as such will be very high, isn't it? So here we can say that as the value of n increases with increase in electron, the value of n increases with increase in the electron density around the ions. And also the value of n for helium configuration, usually the value of n, it will be equal to 5 for helium configuration. Then for a neon configuration, usually the value of n will be equal to n is equal to 7. Then while coming to argon, krypton and xenon configurations, the value of n, it will be equal to 9, 10 and 12 respectively. Okay, so for helium configuration, n is equal to 5. N is the Bond's exponent. For helium configuration, n is equal to 5. For neon configuration, n is equal to 7. For argon, it is 9. For krypton, 10. And for xenon, it is 12. You have to remember that values also. Okay, so we had got the two formulas, the potential energy due to the attractive interaction as well as the potential energy due to repulsive interaction. Okay, so from this two formulas we can calculate the net potential energy of the of that particular ionic compound, isn't it? So next we can see the net potential energy. Net potential energy. Okay, so the net potential energy we can represent it as potential energy net. That is the total potential energy, that is equal to, what is the potential energy due to attractive interaction? It is minus Z1 Z2 into E square divided by R, isn't it? And again potential energy due to, this is the attractive interaction, I am writing it as attraction. Then the next one, potential energy due to repulsive interaction, that is B E square divided by R raised to N. So this is the potential energy due to repulsion. Okay, see here this equation we can put it as, so the other two you can put an equation number. For attractive interaction it is 1, and for this one, for repulsive interaction, it is equation number 2. Then so here this is equation number 3. Okay, so this equation it is called as the Born equation. This equation, that is equation 3, is the Born equation, that is the net potential energy, that is the Born equation. So if a question is asked to write the Born equation for 2 mark, you have to write this one, this equation, and you have to explain each and every terms. Or if it is asked for a 4 mark question, you have to write all these things, that is Born theory. While writing, you have to write all these, the attractive interaction, repulsive interaction, then the net potential energy. Okay, so this is the Born equation. See here, this Born equation, see there is a limitation for this Born equation, means here it is considering only one atom, or when a single anion or a single cation is kept at an infinite distance, then we can apply this Born equation, isn't it? But here in the case of a crystal lattice, what happens? See, I hope you have studied this solid state, isn't it? For solid states, see, for example, NaCl, solid state, what happens is that the sodium chloride, it will be like this, it will be arranged like this, that is, this is Na plus, then this is Cl minus, I am writing it as plus. Okay, this is a negative ion, again this is a positive ion, this is a negative ion, again a negative ion, a positive, a negative, a positive, again positive, negative, then positive, then negative, then again negative, positive, negative, positive, isn't it? So likewise, the in a crystal lattice, these ions are arranged. Here I am representing this positive charge as an Na plus, and this is this negative charge, it is denoting it as a Cl minus, isn't it? So here in the case of a crystal lattice, what happens is that this Na plus, it is surrounded by how many opposite charges? See here, one negative charge is there, isn't it? Here one negative charge is there. Similarly, in the back side of this, that is in the back side of these Na plus, there will be oppositely charged ions, isn't it? While you have to consider it in a 3D manner. Okay, just please wait for a few seconds. Sorry students, I had gone to take a Rubik's cube for showing you as an example. See here, suppose this is a solid, this is a crystal, okay, sodium chloride crystal. See here, see this, see each one, we can, this one it is Na plus, this is Cl minus, Na plus, Cl minus. Likewise, we can say. Okay, so here this sodium atom, see, this is Na plus Cl minus Na plus, then this is Cl minus Na plus, isn't it? So this Na plus, it is surrounded by how many opposite charges? See, this is Na plus, so this one Na plus, here Na plus, here Na plus, isn't it? So likewise, inside this Cl minus, there will be another inside this Na plus there will be another Cl minus. That means inside this cube, isn't it? So inside this cube there will be another Cl minus surrounding it. That means like charges will be surrounding this Na plus ions. Similarly, in the case of Cl minus also, so many like charges, that means Na plus will be surrounding. See here, this is Cl minus, then this one is Na plus, isn't it? Here again, this is Cl minus, this is Cl minus. Here also there will be ions, there will be oppositely charged ions as well as like charges, likely charged ions are there, isn't it? There will be opposite charges as well as like charges. So similarly, we can say that, see, there will be interactions between the opposite charges as well as the like charges, isn't it? While we are considering a single ion, there will be interactions between neighboring ions, isn't it? This ion, it is surrounded by so many like charges as well as opposite charges. So there will be interactions between these ions also while considering the case of a crystal. Okay, so that you have to be clear of that. That means one like charge, it is surrounded by so many neighboring opposite charges or like charges, isn't it? So we can say that there will be interactions between the oppositely charged ions as well as the negatively charged ions. So here in the case of sodium chloride crystal, see, there will be opposite charges are there. So while considering Na plus ions, the oppositely charged species is Cl minus. So the immediate neighbors are Cl minus for this Na plus, isn't it? And also see, 6 Cl minus are there for 1 Na plus, isn't it? Surrounding 6 neighbors, 6 oppositely charged Cl minus are there for Na plus. And similarly, like charges, that means like charges, that means Na plus ions, there are 12 neighbors with Na plus ions, and there will be interactions from these. That means there will be repulsions from these 12 Na plus as well as attraction from these 6 Na plus. Okay, so this cannot be satisfied by Bohm equation. Okay, this problem cannot be satisfied by Bohm equation. That is why another constant came into being, that is called as the Madelung constant. So in this Madelung constant, the other interactions from the opposite charges as well as the like charges, it is also taken into account while considering the case of Madelung constant A. And this Madelung constant, it is denoted by A. So here you have to remember this Bohm equation failed at this point. That means it does not consider the case of the neighboring oppositely charged ions or the next neighboring like charges ions. Okay. So here for while considering Na plus, it has got 6 Cl minus ions surrounding it. So there will be an interaction. Then similarly like charges are also there. Next neighboring like charges, that is 12 neighboring like charges are there. So there will be some geometrical interactions between these. Okay, so due to this geometrical interactions, the other constant came into being, that is called as the Madelung constant. Okay, Madelung constant A. So we can write the correction term for this Bohm equation, and see for the attractive interaction, see, one correction term is there. We have to add another one more term for the first term. That is, the first term is minus Z1 Z2 into E square divided by R. So here some geometrical interactions came into being, and is the Madelung constant A. So you have to insert A also in this term. Okay. So the first term in the Bohm equation, it becomes minus A1 into Z1 into Z2 into E square divided by R. This is the first term, first correction term in the Bohm equation. Okay. So this correction term, first term, it is regarding the attractive force, isn't it? And then regarding the second term in the Bohm equation, that is the repulsive interaction. So here this repulsive interaction, it is the repulsion between the anions and cations due to the mutual repulsion between the electron clouds, isn't it? And also this term, it is inversely proportional to the second term. It is inversely proportional to r raised to n itself, isn't it? Be square divided by r raised to n, that is the second term. So the repulsive interaction, the neighboring oppositely charged ions, how many number there will be? 6, isn't it? 6 oppositely charged Cl minus are there. So we can write the second term, the potential energy due to repulsion. The second term we can correct it as, this is the potential energy due to attraction, the correction term as a result of the geometrical interactions. This is the potential energy due to repulsion, that will be equal to 6 into Be square divided by r raised to n. In the Born equation it is Be square divided by r raised to n. Here it is 6Be square divided by r raised to n. Okay, and also 6Be square we can use another term as B, capital B divided by r raised to n, where capital B is equal to 6Be square. Okay, so B divided by r raised to n, that is the potential energy due to repulsion. So the net potential energy according to this Madelung geometrical interactions, the net potential energy will be equal to minus A1, or A we can write it as A, minus A into, instead of Z1 and Z2 we can write it as Z square into E square divided by R plus B divided by r raised to n. Okay, here A is called as the Madelung constant, then Z1 and Z2, as you know, it is the charges. Okay, so here the net potential energy will be this much. Then we can go through the a simple derivation for this. See, usually an ion will be in a stable position when both the attractive force as well as the repulsive force are balanced each other, isn't it? That means when the potential energy is minimum, what happens? When the potential energy is minimum, that particular compound, it will be stable, isn't it? For stability to attain, for attaining stability, what happens? The energy should be minimum, isn't it? So here we can write the potential energy as a minimum, and while differentiating the potential energy with respect to internuclear distance dPe by dr, it will be equal to 0. While differentiating it, the value will be equal to 0. And for this derivation, we have to write the internuclear distance r, we can denote it as r0. Okay. So first of all, we have to differentiate the above equation, that is the net potential energy we have to differentiate. See, I am writing the equation once more. The net potential energy is equal to minus A into Z square into E square divided by R plus B divided by R raised to N. That is the net potential energy. You have to differentiate this equation, that is dPe by dr, that is equal to d by dr of, with respect to r we are differentiating by d by dr of minus a z square. These are all constant terms, isn't it? Minus a z square into e square is also a constant term, divided by r plus b divided by r raised to n, that we have to differentiate this much. Okay, then again d by dr of, you have to write it in this form, minus a z square into e square into 1 by r. 1 by r we can write it as 1 by r is equal to r raised to minus 1, isn't it? So we can write it as into r raised to minus 1 plus b into 1 by r raised to n. 1 by r raised to n is equal to r raised to minus n, isn't it? So b into r raised to minus n. So you can write it in this way. Just 1 by r, it is r raised to minus 1. 1 by r raised to n is r raised to minus n. Okay. Then equating this equation to 0. That means the potential energy will be minimum, isn't it? So equating this equation to 0. Equating the equation to 0. See, while using derivations, you have to write what are you going to do. Okay, you have to write the procedure. Whether it is equating or differentiating or integrating, whatever it is, you have to write the steps also. Okay. So here, this equating the equation to 0, that is d by dr of minus a z square into e square into r raised to minus 1 plus b into r raised to minus n, that is equal to 0. Okay. And again, r we have to denote it as r0. Then you have to differentiate this equation. See here these are all constants, isn't it? So can be taken outside. A minus a into z square into e square into r0 raised to minus 1. See, d by dx of x raised to n, differential of d by dx of x raised to n. What is the differential? That is n into x raised to n minus 1. That is the formula. Here you have to apply n into x raised to n minus 1. So here r0 raised to minus 1. That is what is n here? N is minus 1. So minus 1 into x raised to x, here it is r0, x into n minus 1. The n is minus 1. So minus 1 again minus 1. That is equal to minus 1 into, can you see? Minus 1 into x raised to minus 1 is minus 2. That is equal to minus 1 into x raised to minus 2. Sorry, here it is. I am writing it as x. Here it is r0. X you can put it as r0. In our equation it is r0. Okay. So minus 1 into r0 raised to minus 2. So that is the differential of this one. So we can write it as minus 1 into r0 raised to minus 2. Okay. So that is over in the first term. The first term is over. Then for the second term, plus b into r0 raised to minus 1. Again apply the same formula. N into x raised to n minus 1. Here n it is minus 2, not minus 2, it is minus n into, this term we are doing. So minus n into r0 raised to minus n minus 1, isn't it? That is equal to 0. That is minus a into z square into e square into again one minus term. So this will become positive into r0 raised to minus 2 plus again minus n into b, isn't it? So it becomes minus n into b into r0 raised to minus n minus 1. r0 raised to minus n minus 1, that is equal to 0. Again you can take this term on the right LHS of the equation, that is a into z square into e square into r0 raised to minus 2, that is equal to, while taking this to the other side it becomes a positive term, isn't it? So it becomes n into b into r0 raised to minus n minus 1. Okay. So therefore from this you have to calculate what is b. So b is equal to a into z square into e square into r0 raised to minus 2 divided by n into r0 raised to minus n minus 1. Okay. A into z square into r0 raised to minus 2 divided by n into r0 raised to minus 1. So that we can again simplify these terms, isn't it? That is r0, I am writing it here. That is r0 raised to minus 2 divided by r0 raised to minus n minus 1. That means 1 by r0 raised to minus n minus 1. Then in the numerator it is r0 raised to minus 2. So while it comes to denominator it becomes r0 raised to 2, isn't it? So that we can simplify it. That is r0 raised to minus n, then minus 1 plus 2, that is plus 1. That is 1 by r0 raised to 1 minus n. 1 by r0 raised to 1 minus n. So by taking this to the numerator, what happens? 1 by r0 raised to 1 minus n means that is equal to r0 raised 1 r0 raised to 1 minus n the whole raised to minus 1, isn't it? The signs will be changed. That is r0 raised to minus 1 plus n. That is equal to r0 raised to n minus 1. Okay. While coming to the numerator, the term becomes r0 raised to n minus 1. So this term we can simplify and we will be obtaining r0 raised to n minus 1. Hope you are clear with this one. It's a very simple mathematics. Just do this derivation. Okay. First you have to simplify it and then it has to be taken to the numerator. Okay. So here we will be having the value of b is equal to a into z square into e square into, for this term you have to substitute, that is r0 into n minus 1, isn't it? Divided by n. So the value of b we got. Then this is kept as equation number 5. Then where is equation 4? That is the previous equation. So this is equation number 5. Okay. So we have got the value of b. Then you have to substitute the value of b in our previous equation. That is the net potential energy by this Maitland constant, that is the equation, it is this one, this is equation 4. Okay, minus a z square into e square divided by r plus b by r raised to n. This is equation 4, and you have to substitute the value of b in this equation. Okay, again I am writing the equation here, the fourth equation, that is potential energy, that is equal to minus a z square into e square divided by r plus b divided by r raised to n. This is our fourth equation. Then we have to substitute the value of b, and the value of b is equal to a z square into e square into a z square into e square into r0 raised to n minus 1, r0 raised to n minus 1 divided by n. Okay, so this is the fifth equation. Substitute equation 5 in equation 4, that is the value of b in equation 4. So therefore the potential energy is equal to minus a into z square into e square divided by r plus, what is b, a z square into e square into r0 raised to n minus 1 divided by n into r raised to n. Okay, sorry, into r raised to n. So here also you have to write the terms r as r0. Okay, so all the terms will be r0, not as r. Okay, so again we have to simplify this equation, that is minus a z square into e square divided by r0 plus this term you have to simplify. Okay, that is a z square into e square divided by n into this term while simplifying, that is r0 raised to n minus 1 divided by r0 raised to n, isn't it? So by taking this to the denominator, it becomes 1 by r0 raised to n into r0 raised to minus n plus 1. The signs will be changed, isn't it? Minus n plus 1. That is equal to 1 by r0 raised to n minus n. That will be 0. Then again 1 plus 1 will be remaining. That is equal to 1 by r0. Okay. So this will be simplified and the value will be equal to 1 by r0. So we can put it in the denominator. A z square into e square divided by n r0. That is, we can write the, so we can take the common terms outside, that is a z square into e square divided by r0, it is a common term. So we can write the potential energy as a z square into e square divided by r0 into, here it is 1 by n, isn't it? Here it is 1, isn't it? So here 1 by n, while taking these terms outside, the remaining will be 1 by n. Here it is minus 1. So into 1 by n minus 1. So this is equation number 5, 6, isn't it? So it is equation number 6. Okay. So again we have to define lattice energy. How will you define lattice energy? It is the amount of energy released during the formation of a crystal, isn't it? So lattice energy we can denote here it as U0. Lattice energy normally it will be equal to N0 into potential energy. So what is N0? N0 it is the Avogadro number. N0 is the Avogadro number, that is 6.02 into 10 raised to 23. Okay. So here U0 is equal to N0 into potential energy. So from this we can calculate the lattice energy. So U0 is equal to N0 into what is potential energy? This term, that is A Z square into E square divided by R0 into 1 by N minus 1. Okay. So this is equation number 7, the definition for potential energy. And also in SI units, this term or this equation it will be changed like this, that is U0 is equal to N0 into A into Z square into E square divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 into R0 into 1 by N minus 1. Okay. So this is equation number 8. So these two equations, that is equation 7 as well as equation 8. These two equations, it is called as the Born-Landay equation. Born-Landay equation. Okay. So here in SI units, we are multiplying in the denominator this particular term, that is 4 pi epsilon 0 in the denominator. So here epsilon 0, it is the permittivity of free space. permittivity of free space. You have studied this in physics, isn't it? Epsilon 0 is the permittivity of free space. So these equations, that is equations 7 and 8 are called as the Born-Landé equation. So you can write both these equations while you are asked to write Born-Landé equation. N0 into AZ square into E square divided by R0 into 1 by N minus 1. Okay. Hope you are clear with this Born-Landé equation. No need of explaining again, or else you can go through the video once more. Okay. So here this is a more successful equation while comparing with that of the Born equation, since it is dealing with the interactions, the repulsive as well as the attractive interactions with the neighboring ions also. And also from this Born-Landé equation, so many advantages are there, or so many points we can write from this Born-Landé equation. And also the first point is that we had gone through all these points. Just a reminder of those points again. That means if the charge on the anions and the cations are high, if the charge on anion and cation are high, what happens to the lattice energy? The magnitude of the lattice energy will also be high, isn't it? The magnitude of lattice energy U will also be high. See, if the magnitude of lattice energy is high, what about the stability of the crystal? The crystal stability will also be high. So if for a crystal to be stable or highly stable, what happens? If the charge should be high, so that the magnitude of the lattice energy will also be high. That is the one of the points that we can take from this Born-Landé equation. Okay, this Born-Landé equation, it is very important. Usually it is an asked question. Usually in 4 marks question it is asked. So you have to study well, prepare it for a 4 mark question. Okay. And also the second point to be noted is that this lattice energy, it is inversely proportional to the internuclear distance, isn't it? We had seen in the equation itself, that is, it is inversely proportional to R raised to N. Inversely proportional to the nth power of the internuclear distance, where internuclear distance, it is denoted by R. So this lattice energy, it is inversely proportional to the internuclear distance or the interionic distance. And this interionic distance, how will you calculate? It is the sum of the radii of the cation plus sum of the radii of the anion. That is how you calculate the interionic distance. Okay. So what happens is that as the ion size is small, if the ion size is small, what happens? The interionic distance will be small, isn't it? The interionic distance will be small. Then what happens? The lattice energy will be high. That means both are inversely proportional, isn't it? So the lattice energy will be high, and also what happens if the lattice energy is high? The stability will also be high. If the lattice energy is high, the stability will also be high. So that means if the ion size is smaller, the internuclear distance will be small, and again this lattice energy, it is inversely related to the internuclear distance. So thereby the lattice energy will be high, then thereby the stability is also high. Then again one more point is there. The third point, that is the lattice energy and the Madelung and the stability. The lattice energy and the stability, it is directly proportional to the Madelung constant, isn't it? See here in the equation itself, we can see the potential energy or the lattice energy, the formula connecting lattice energy and Madelung constant. See, U0 is the lattice energy, A is the Madelung constant. It is directly related, isn't it? So as the lattice energy is high, what happens? The stability will also be high. That means lattice energy, it is directly proportional to the Madelung constant. Okay, and this Madelung constant, it depends upon it depends upon the coordination number. It depends upon the coordination number of each ion. Coordination number of each ion. Okay. So here that is the third point. The lattice energy, it is inversely proportional to the Madelung constant. So these are the 3 points you have to keep in mind. And also this Born-Landé equation as well as the Born equation, it is an usually asked question. Be prepared for a 4 mark question. Okay. So in the next session we can go through Born-Haber cycle. You have to study these topics very well. Please don't get bored while seeing the video. You can do it 1 or 2 or 3 times. You can view the video 1 or 2 or how much times you want to see. Please, you have to keep a timetable while being at your home, and you should be You should follow that particular timetable itself, otherwise you will be suffering in your examinations. See, your examinations will be coming so fast. Please be ready for that. Okay, don't waste your time while being at home. Thank you.